The restaurant was one of those places that pretended not to try. Muted lighting. Slate walls. A wine list printed on thick cream paper. You could tell it was expensive by how quiet everyone was. I was 10 minutes late. Not dramatically late. Just enough that when I reached the table, everyone had already ordered drinks and settled into whatever version of themselves they wanted to present that night. My sister stood when she saw me. She kissed my cheek quickly, perfume lingering like a boundary. "You made it." I said I would. Dad didn't stand. He looked me over in that evaluative way he's had since I was 16 and not applying to law school. "You still smell like citrus," he said. "I always do." He snorted and looked across the table at my sister's new husband. "He's just a bartender. Lives in that world. Just." I took my seat. I didn't correct him. I haven't corrected him in years. There was a time when I tried, when I explained fermentation processes and hospitality margins and expansion models like they were debate points. But my father doesn't argue with information he doesn't respect. He dismisses it. So I learned to conserve energy. My sister's husband, Ethan, extended his hand. "Ethan," he said smoothly. Venture capital posture. Direct eye contact. The kind of grip that says he's read books about influence. I gave him mine. His grip was firm. Then it changed. Not dramatically. Just enough that I felt it. A fractional pause. A tightening. His eyes narrowed, not in hostility, but in recognition. He released my hand slowly. "You're Daniel Mercer."
Yes.
There are a lot of Daniel Mercers in the world, but not many connected to the company that's been acquiring mid-sized hospitality properties across the West Coast for the last 5 years. He held my gaze half a second too long. "Excuse me," he said casually, already stepping back. No one else noticed. Dad was explaining something about real estate cycles. My mother was adjusting a napkin that didn't need adjusting. My sister was smiling too brightly, monitoring tone like she always does when she wants things to go smoothly. Ethan moved a few steps away and pulled out his phone. I didn't watch directly. I didn't need to. I've seen that look before, the quick mental indexing of name to memory, memory to database. Search, scroll, scroll again. There's a particular stillness people get when they realize they miscategorized you. It isn't shame. It's recalibration. When he came back to the table, his posture had shifted, subtle. Shoulders slightly squared. Expression composed in a new way. He didn't sit immediately. "Daniel," he said evenly, "are you the Mercer behind Harbor and Pine?" Dad stopped mid-sentence. I looked up.
Yes.
Silence is strange in a restaurant. It doesn't descend, it reveals itself. Conversations around us kept going, glasses clinked, a server laughed near the bar. But at our table, something had thinned. Dad blinked. "Harbor and Pine. The restaurant group. Hospitality group," Ethan corrected automatically, eyes still on me. "They acquired Belmont last year." I nodded once. My sister looked between us. "Wait. What's happening?" Ethan pulled out his phone again, not to search this time, but to show. He turned the screen toward my father. There was an article. My name, a photograph taken 3 years ago when I still cared about press events. Dad leaned closer. "That's you?" he asked.
Yes.
He sat back slowly. The waiter arrived with appetizers and sensed something. Professionals can read temperature. He set the plates down quietly and left without commentary. Ethan finally sat. "I've actually followed your expansion model," he said, voice measured now. "The boutique to portfolio transition was well executed. I appreciated the phrasing. No exaggeration, no flattery. Just professional acknowledgement." "Thank you," I said. Dad cleared his throat. "I thought you worked at a bar." "I do," I said. "I own them too." The distinction was gentle. I didn't emphasize it. My sister stared at me. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I shrugged lightly. "You never asked." That wasn't entirely fair. They had asked what I was doing. I'd answered honestly. I just never elaborated. For years, I poured drinks 3 nights a week at our flagship location. I still do. I like the floor. I like watching people soften after the first sip of something crafted carefully. Ownership doesn't erase craft. But my family heard bartender and stopped listening. Dad laughed once. It sounded dry. Well, that's impressive. There was no apology in it, just surprise wearing a thin coat of admiration. Ethan leaned forward slightly. My firm actually tried to get a meeting with Harbor and Pine 2 years ago. We couldn't get through the gatekeepers. I wasn't looking for outside capital, I said. Another silence. The power in the room didn't flip dramatically. It tilted. My father, who has always introduced himself by his former title, even in retirement, suddenly had no vocabulary for this. His hierarchy relies on recognizable ladders: doctor, lawyer, executive. Titles you can display at dinner parties. Bartender didn't fit. Investor didn't fit either. But owner did. He adjusted his collar as if the fabric had tightened. Well, he said slowly, you never mentioned you were running a company. I mentioned I was building something. He nodded vaguely, memory failing him in real time. Dinner resumed, but conversation rearranged itself around me. Questions came carefully now. How many locations? 12. In different states. 3. And you still work shifts? Sometimes. My sister studied me as if trying to reconcile 2 images at once. The younger brother she'd teased for smelling like limes. The man in the article whose company was valued in numbers she'd likely never considered. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt observed. There's a difference. Halfway through the main course, Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and then at me. Apologies, he said. My partner just sent something. He turned the screen toward me this time. A message thread. Is this the same Mercer? It read. If so, treat carefully. I exhaled quietly through my nose. Not amusement, just recognition. Authority had entered the room, not through me, but through his world. His partner. His firm. The invisible network that confers legitimacy in circles my family respects. Dad saw the message over Ethan's shoulder. Treat carefully. He repeated, half joking, half uncertain. Ethan's response was calm. Daniel's company has more leverage in hospitality acquisitions right now than most private equity firms. They've structured deals differently. It wasn't praise. It was fact, and facts are harder to dismiss than feelings. Dad leaned back in his chair and went quiet. Not embarrassed, just processing. For years, he'd believed I had stepped down from something greater. That I'd chosen small over significant. And now he was discovering that small had been a perspective issue. My sister reached for her wine glass and missed it slightly before adjusting. Why didn't you tell us? She asked again, softer this time. I considered the question honestly. Because it didn't change how you saw me, I said. And I didn't need it to. That landed heavier than anything else I'd said. The rest of the meal passed with a careful politeness. Ethan asked thoughtful questions. I answered directly. Dad spoke less. My mother watched everything like she always does, cataloging emotional shifts for later reflection. When the bill came, Ethan reached for it automatically. I let him. Power doesn't require interruption. Outside, under the awning, my sister hugged me longer than usual. I didn't know, she murmured. I know. Dad extended his hand instead of offering his usual stiff pat on the shoulder. I'm proud of you, he said. It was sincere. But it was late. Thank you, I replied. Ethan lingered after the others moved toward the valet stand. I'd like to set up a meeting, he said. If you're open to it. I'm selective. I answered evenly. But you can send something through the office. He nodded, understanding the boundary. When I walked to my car, the air felt cooler than it had earlier. Not lighter, just clearer. I didn't feel victorious. Nothing had been avenged. No speeches delivered, no apologies extracted. My father hadn't meant harm when he said, just. He simply believed in visible ladders. Tonight, one had appeared where he hadn't seen it before. That was enough. The next morning, I worked the brunch shift at Harbor and Pine's original location. The one with the narrow bar and the reclaimed wood shelves I installed myself. A regular asked for her usual gin cocktail. I made it the way I always do, measured, balanced, careful. When she took the first sip, she smiled. That's perfect. I nodded once. I don't correct people when they call me a bartender. It's accurate. And now, when someone says it with a tone of dismissal, I don't rush to fix them. I let time do that. Power, I've learned, is quiet when it's real. And it doesn't need to raise its voice at dinner.